Hello everybody, this is Odd Job Entertainment. Today I'm going to prove to you that you don't hate math. Yes, math, that subject in school that you always said you hated, I'm going to prove to you that you don't. Same with English. Yes, English, the class where you constantly said, I speak English, why do I need to learn it? But first, a story. I was making a mister for a canopy that my dad owns that was intended to keep us cool when we went to go watch fireworks on the 4th of July. Pretty simple design, 4 lengths of PVC pipe around the perimeter of the canopy frame with 3 nozzles per side. As I was making the determination of where to put the nozzles, I realized that the corners were not getting very good coverage if I would have just placed them evenly along the sides, so I needed a better method. I remembered back in school, I had learned some trigonometry that could help here, so I drew a little diagram, did a 12-point projection onto the perimeter using some trig, and that moved the nozzles slightly closer to the corners. When the project was finished and working, I realized that the most fun part was using that technique to solve my problem. You see, nobody truly hates math. They hate feeling stupid. They hate sitting in a classroom with 30 other kids being expected to learn at the same set pace and feeling like a moron if they get tripped up. Even worse, we're never taught the why of anything. Why will this be helpful? Why do I need this? Why do I care how many apples Jimmy has? Maybe he should keep better track of his fruit. Since it never helps us in our problems with life, it fails to become relevant. Since it's not relevant, we lose interest. And this leads people to say that they hate math, but they actually hate the way that it was given to them. You see, I realized when I made that mister, I love math. I love it when I'm able to apply it and solve real-world problems in my life. And you need math to do a lot of that. Now, I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, I'll never use algebra in my adult life. And to them I say, well, that's actually your fault. The technique is there, and the problems are there too. Perhaps you don't recognize them, but as an adult, it's kind of your fault. You gotta take the time to look for ways to apply what you've been given. For example, most everybody has credit cards now. Credit cards charge compound interest. He who understands interest earns it. He who does not pays it. Something along those lines. I think I'll try and put the quote on screen. The reality is none of us really hate math. We just hate the learning process that the public education system has given us as far as being able to learn math. We hate that process. And, talk to a lot of teachers. They'll tell you the same thing. There's better ways for students to learn, but they take funding and they take program changes, and the public education system is kind of a dinosaur, and it's very hard to enact real lasting change in any short amount of time that will actually bring a benefit. Instead, we prefer to just keep throwing funding at failing programs and expect different results, where there's plenty of other solutions that could actually help solve the problem. But I digress. Nobody actually hates math. They hate the process by which they were taught it. And a big part of that is never getting the why. The why is so important. If it's never important to your life personally, our brains are programmed to toss out irrelevant information. And it's a shame when math becomes that, because we're not taught to recognize how we can use math to solve problems in our actual lives. I got a real thrill out of making a mister, really stupid, simple project. But there's plenty of other examples out there where math is integral in being able to solve a problem, or a lack of understanding of math leads to problems. Credit card debt is a really big one facing many Americans, and, well, not just Americans, facing many people, billions of people every year, every day, for the rest of their lives. Oftentimes, a little more education in how that works might lead to them not getting into it in the first place. And the same thing applies to language arts, or English class, as it becomes known in middle school and high school. I was thinking about the script for this video and the things I want to talk about, and I realized that a lot of the things I was saying about math also apply to English class. And I did a brief 2-year stint in Mexico, and a big part of that was learning Spanish, which I, to this day, can still speak fluently, and I use it quite a bit to talk to a lot of my friends that still are in Mexico. And I can't tell you how big a blessing that has been in my life to learn another language and be able to understand it, understand a big part of the culture that comes behind it, the customs, the traditions. There's a lot that comes with a language, but even bigger than all of that, even bigger than understanding all of the Mexican heritage that I gained from learning the language, was learning to understand my own native language, English, so much better. You know, in English class, we're constantly drilled on what an adjective is, what an adverb is, what a noun is, and what a preposition is, all these different things. And to be honest, I didn't understand why I was being taught any of this until I fully understood Spanish, because it then became very apparent to me why I needed to know what kind of word or what type of word I was learning. For example, if I know that something is an adverb, that tells me exactly how I need to use it. If I'm aware that what the word that I'm looking at is a noun, that tells me how I can use it. And putting this all together, now you can formulate sentences and you can express your thoughts and desires in another language. Well, learning that second language made me understand why it was so important for my native language, which is English. And, you know, I'm shooting off the cuff here, so there's probably quite a few grammar mistakes, but when I write, I'm a lot more particular in how I say things. But the point is, learning Spanish helped me understand why English class was so important. I think the trick is getting students to realize what they are learning as they're learning it. It shouldn't have to be that you have to go to a foreign country for 2 years to gain an appreciation for your native language class. If we were taught the why, it would really cut down on a lot of the complaining and a lot of the confusion as to why we're being made to take this class. And frankly, all it takes is a brief look through your Facebook, Twitter, or whatever thing you use nowadays. It only takes a brief glance to see that a lot of us really ought to go back to English class or whatever your native language happens to be. Shorthand has taken over the internet, but it is so pervasive in many ways because there has been a real deterioration in our ability as a society to communicate ideas thoughtfully and express the things that we want to say exactly as we want to say them. And we fall back on a lot of crutches, and our ability to express an idea is severely limited by lack of understanding of our native languages, and that's a real shame. That's why English class is important. It gives you that solid foundation to understand how to communicate what you want to say to other people. I guess all of this to say that you don't hate math, you don't hate English. In fact, this applies to any subject in school. History is another big one. Oh my gosh. History is such an important class, yet people do not realize that. You only have to look through history books to realize that a lot of the problems we are facing today have been solved in the past, and we, for lack of understanding of our history, are repeating many of the same mistakes. I won't go into any specifics here. I'm not trying to start too much of a controversy, but socialism is definitely up there, just saying. Anyways, so much of what we learn in school, we take for granted because we don't understand why it should be valuable to us. If we understood why, then we would hopefully have that relevance and we'd look for ways to apply it in our lives daily. So, all this to say, You don't hate math. You don't hate English. You don't hate history. You don't hate any of that stuff. You hate the way it was given to you. You hate that the education system was limited in its ability to cater to your individuality, that you weren't able to learn at your own pace, that you weren't given the explanations that you needed to not feel like an idiot. You hate those things, but you don't hate the subjects themselves. This is, of course, my opinion, but it's based off of what I've seen in my own life. Things that I see how to use them in my actual life to solve problems. I love those things. Math and science have become a big part of them. History is a big part of how I look at the world and how I look at the problems that our society is facing. Spanish has made me appreciate English. All these experiences have shaped this idea that we don't actually hate the subjects, we hate the quote-unquote learning process that we're all forced to go through. But anyways, this is Odd Job Entertainment, and you guys know how this goes. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and let's start a dialogue. I think this is something where we can have a real conversation about these things, so please leave a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking. Until next time, this is Odd Job Entertainment, signing off.